Felicitous greetings, fellow fanatics. I'm Adam the Fanatic, also known as Mario Fanatic 15, and welcome to another installment of Nerdy Fanaticism. Today I'm going to be getting mildly philosophical on you and asking, what is a game? Now, there's many definitions of the word, of course, but as you've likely already surmised if you're familiar with this channel, I'm referring to games specifically in the context of board games and video games. Strap yourselves in, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to argue semantics. Before I begin, please keep two things in mind. Firstly, recognize that just because I say something is a game does not necessarily mean I enjoy it. Settlers of Catan and Halo Combat Evolved are most certainly games. They're just not games that I'm fond of. On the other side of the coin, just because I say something isn't a game doesn't mean I dislike it. I enjoy things like Creatures 3 and The Sims 2, even though they are not games in my mind. Looking to our good friend Merriam-Webster, there are two definitions in particular that are good starting points. The manner of playing in a contest, or activity engaged in for diversion or amusement. But, as Thomas Sowell once said when trying to define economics, that is true as far as it goes, but it does not go far enough. So, let's go further. Before I can answer what is a game, I must explain what isn't a game and why I do not see them as such. Firstly, a game requires input from the player. To this end, I do not consider games of pure luck to be true games. Be they scratch-off tickets, bingo, slot machines, snakes and ladders, Candyland, none of these require any interaction or input from the player. In truth, they are not players at all, but rather spectators, with no way of influencing the outcome short of cheating. Next, we have to differentiate between a game and a puzzle. Here I have a copy of Ket 2.0 and Laser Maze. Both of these were designed by Luke Hooper with similar concepts in mind. Using toy lasers, you have to bounce the light off of various mirrors to hit certain targets. Ket 2.0 is undoubtedly a game. An abstract strategy game where two players are each trying to hit the other's pharaoh with their laser before theirs is struck. In Laser Maze, however, you have no foe. Instead, you're given a set number of pieces, some that will be set out already by the puzzle itself, others which you must figure out where they belong. I do not consider this a game, as a game requires two-way interaction, be it from other players or from the game itself. Finally, we must differentiate between a game and a toy. Now, this is generally pretty obvious when comparing tabletop games to physical toys. However, there are many video games that I would argue are not in fact games at all, but rather more of virtual toys. This is because to me, a true game must have an objective to work towards, be it the set end of a storyline, defeating another foe, or simply achieving a high score. There must be some sort of goal in mind. Even Will Wright, the designer of The Sims, described his own creation as such. When you play something like The Sims, the player is actually the one building the rule set. I'm giving the player a toy, and the player is turning it into a game. So how then would I define a game in the strictest, most technical sense? A game is a contest wherein one or more players follow an agreed upon set of rules in an attempt to achieve a goal of some sort by reacting to changing stimuli. But of course, language means nothing in a vacuum. Whether you agree or disagree with me, I'd love to know what your definition is and what the thought process was that helped you reach such. If you have any questions, remarks, or opposing points of view, leave them in the comments down below. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell. And be sure to come back next week for my first ever tabletop review as I take a look at Tiny Epic Kingdoms, both through the official Tabletop Simulator DLC and my own physical copy of the ultra-tiny version of the game. Until then, farewell, fellow fanatics. Thank you again for watching. I have plenty more to share with you if you're interested. You can click up here above my head to subscribe to my channel. You can click over here on my monitor to see the most recent video that I've worked on. Or if you prefer, you can click up here to open this mysterious vault and see what video that the YouTube algorithm has picked just for you.